Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here with a little bit of an update for the Train Rehan build. It's been a little bit of time, but there's been a lot of upgrades and a lot of changes to the build, so I figured I'd do an updated video for you here. So it's been a lot of changes, and I had meant to do a video when we first hit 1 trillion, and then we went from like basically 600 billion to 900 billion to 1.4 to 3.5 very quickly. So kind of like always was putting out this video. So here's kind of the update for everything. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is we've kind of changed skill here. So we are no longer spinning. We are still winning though, but we're using Thunder Spike. Now, if you aren't familiar with it, Train Rehan here, what pretty much happens is when you're in the Berserk state, when you hit enemies, you trigger a burst. So attacks trigger a burst once per hit while Berserk is active. And this burst does all of our damage because tunnel vision here makes it so that our attack skills do less damage. And so you don't really care too much about what you're using to proc the burst as long as it is proccing. And eventually, once you have enough attack speed and cooldown, it just kind of starts proccing itself. Like I'm not actually hitting with the Thunder Spike at this distance. And so, yeah, that's just like, it's just on there permanently, irregardless of what I do personally. And so Thunder Spike here is really quite overpowered, and it's probably going to get nerfed next season. However, Thunder Spike, it applies numbed. And so numbed is a multiplier that goes on the enemy target. You get up to 10 stacks of this. It kind of like goes up and down for me a lot right now, but each stack gives you about 4% more damage for a grand total of 40% if you can get all of them. We use the Thunder Spike numb here. Gives us an additional chance of applying more numbed, and we just need more numb chance. And so high voltage here, I believe, gives us more numb chance, even though we're already at 100%. It's a little bit weird, but this just increases that. And then tremble here gives us 76% numbed effect. So if that we get like all 10 stacks, that's 40% damage. We get another like 70% of that, or 76% of that. That's quite a lot of damage. And so this is just very powerful. You do need to use Haunt too, because Haunt basically allows you to hit more frequently, which allows you to apply more stacks of numbed, and it also just auto targets enemies from giga far away, which is just incredibly nice. If you don't have Haunt, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Lastly, you're using Activation Medium Rhythm here. I mean, I guess ideally you could probably get like a 0.2 version of this, but even if you're at like a 0.5, that would probably be fine as well. And this is just to like automatically go out there and target and hit enemies. And that's kind of just the plan here. And besides that, like we haven't really made too many other changes. Right now I'm using Summon Rock Magus just because I want to make sure that we have a lot of defenses. Picking up Concentrated is a pretty good multiplier. This doesn't increase the aura like reservation at all, but gives us quite a bit of damage. And as long as we're only affected by no more than 2 auras, so we have Fearless and Weapon Amplification, both of these are auras, but then Rock Magus is not an aura, and then Cuteness Imbue is not an aura, it's an imbue skill, so we're good to go here with just these two. Now, let's get into the gear, because there's been a lot of changes here with the gear. There's been a lot of changes with the slates as well. So, yeah. We replaced about 3 pieces of gear in the last day, basically. Number 1, we replaced the Valerie's Night Stroll. Now, these boots are still absolutely incredible, amazing. If you are still using these, they are really, really great. And then pretty much make it so that you just have blur up 100% of the time, which gives you, with their own buff, 33% damage avoidance. Stealth Stab is still really nuts, gives you more damage, gives you damage reduction. This is just really, really good. Now, what I've replaced this with is boots here that are giving me additional life, more life, physical skill level, and physical skill level does give us like 16% more damage per level that we get. So this is pretty big here, helps replace the Stealth Stab. Cooldown reduction, I'm not 100% sold on cooldown reduction just yet, can help us get up into another breakpoint of attack speed. Critical strike damage, more damage, and then I'm probably going to knock this fire resist off probably for crit chance or something else. But most importantly, at the top here, we have converts 50% of erosion damage taken to lightning damage. We have that dreamed on a second time. This is relatively common-ish, and the armor stuff is pretty cheap comparative to the other shallow dream talking. So this is relatively easy to get. Unfortunately, I got like a pretty negative movement speed thing, except for I don't really walk around too much. I just leap slam everywhere. So what this allows me to do is completely ignore erosion resistance altogether on my gear. And so now we're only taking elemental damage from erosion. And so I can have 0 erosion res. That just frees up quite a lot of spots on gear that I would normally be putting into erosion res. Now I can put it into other stuff. And I think this is just very, very powerful. Now, both of our rings here are now going to be life, damage, stat. It could be dexterity, it could be strength, double damage, fervor, crit damage with fervor base effect. And then basically the exact same ring on the other side. Now, I'm probably going to take the armor damage mitigation penetration off of this and put fervor effect here. I just haven't really gotten very lucky with that. It is pretty expensive to craft on these. And so I've just been focusing my money on like other stuff, like getting tier 0s and stuff. We also went and replaced our belt. And belt is an incredibly powerful spot to craft up to tier 1s and to tier 0s. We get this negative 15% additional damage taken at low mana. This does count when you're like reserving your mana as well. That's going to upgrade eventually up to 18% DR, which is just very, very powerful for us. We're going to get dexterity, we have damage, we have double damage, we have all res, and chance to avoid elemental ailments. That's probably not super duper important. I don't think you really get ailmented all that much in this game. And then I have a tier 0 fire res. Also have a tier 0 of elemental res here, which is pretty much allowing me to cover most of my resistances. Ideally, I think I'm going to want to knock off a fire or the fire res off the boots, the lightning, and the cold res, and just get different stuff other places. But that's like kind of stuff that we're working on right now. My weapon still has some tier 1s. Probably going to work on getting these all the way up to tier 0. And originally I was going to consider like switching off of the two-handed hammer here to something else. But now that we can just like use our thunder spike to proc, it's gonna be pretty good. Other stuff I'm kind of looking at is maybe doing a rare hat instead of fool's crown, but I'm not 100% sold on that just yet. And we probably, if we're going to replace Vortex Heart, are going to need a very, very, very good Truth, because it gives us plus a whole bunch of stats. It also gives us a whole bunch of ranks to skills. But this amulet here is super duper OP. It gives us lots of damage, critical strike rating. The skill area doesn't really matter to us all that much. And then focus strike makes it so that enemies take additional damage when they're near the center here, which is just absolutely just really, really nice. Lastly, not maybe lastly, but for slates, we've gone through and done a whole bunch of work here too. It took me probably a little too much here to get a slate to have a good final node here. I really want to get another one that has another legendary here as well. But we have physical, fervor, crit damage, cooldown, physical skill level, and maybe we'll like work on rolling another slate for this. And then we have a spark to set the prairie ablaze, or a prairie. And what this does is it grabs the last talent from everything around it. So it's grabbing our physical skill level. It's grabbing additional attack speed if you've dealt a critical strike lately. This also has other good stuff on here. It's grabbing negative additional elemental damage taken. Remember, all erosion damage we take now is now also just going to be lightning damage. And because of our chest armor, a lot of our physical damage taken is going to be fire. And we kind of like maybe want to eventually replace the explode when we're going to do like the final boss kind of push here. And then, yes, this is generally pretty strong. I do have base wilt damage on this as well, which means I could probably clear it off of my destinies. I don't know if I really need that still, but I think the destiny option there is pretty good. We'll talk about destinies in a little bit here. We have another physical skill level thing as well. There's other good mods on this. We probably want to get ourselves Fallen Starlights that have like 2 good mods maybe if you really want to push it. And then we are using Sparks of Mothfire, which are duplicating the slate that's below them. You can get these where they copy like left, right, up, or down. This one in particular is copying the one below it. So we're getting additional attack speed here. So attack speed, attack speed, attack speed. And then this one is also copying the one below it. So we're getting negative elemental damage, negative elemental damage, negative elemental damage. This is giving us quite a bit of survivability. This last slate, I think we've had forever. It's pretty much just okay. Probably will want to replace this, especially when we're really pushing for doing SS20, which is, it just has the physical damage, fervor, and then that critical strikes can eliminate is nice. However, we'll probably use an amulet that, calls at 15% so that we can just have even more damage in the slot here. And then our pedigree has mind flow and trade-off. So trade-off means we want to have our dexterity and strength exactly the same. One thing to point out, if you are using anything that gives you percentage dexterity or percentage strength, that does give you numbers to the right of the decimal. And so you can't see them. They are there though. So if you have like 15% dexterity, that might end up with we have like 102.12 dexterity or something like that. And so even if you have like 102 strength, the stuff after the decimal does count. So you want to avoid using multiplicative dexterity or strength if you're using trade-off, unless the multiplicatives are equal to each other. And that's pretty much just the slate we're using right now. Mind Flow, I think, is potentially really good. We get additional damage that stacks up and resets after we take a hit. And so we're just trying to not take all that much damage. Looking at our pedigree or packs right now, so we have that Kismet Spider Fluid. We have some dexterity all up in here to get our balance going. We have a little bit of attack and cast speed. I'm not sure if this is helping me all that much. We have strength. We have more strength over here. And I'm just using Plaintive Ball of Thread Violet, Traveling Lizard Green Leaf, and a Woo Woo. But lately I've been trying to level up. So we have gone and slapped in Anthem and the other guy here that does XP balance. Basically, there's 3 different types of XP pets. There's XP balance, there's XP bonus, and there's XP protection. So the protection guy makes it so that when you die, you lose less XP. This guy here makes it so that you get extra XP. And then the XP balance pact makes it so that you get more XP from what you should have gotten. Because as you get higher and higher level, the XP penalty goes up and up. And so this just helps bridge that gap for it. And it's typically the best way to level up here. Stuff that I want to potentially work into the build here is just actually getting better Kismets and stuff. There's a lot of different ones like critical strike damage, three-eyed cat, that kind of stuff. We're also probably going to go and work this into our build. So we have dropped this actually. This is not the price. I just priced it as something I don't think will sell. So adds additional medium destiny slots. And so these are about 6,000-7,000 FE right now. And so this thing just gives you extra space here. Instead of having damage, you would have a medium density or destiny. You have 2 minors and stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can add more stuff onto these, irregardless of the limit for the installation limit up here, which is just pretty darn nice. And you just unlock all of these installs as you progress. And I think my candles are still the same candles we've had for a while. So additional damage for movement. We have Stack of Blessing when we trigger a skill. We have additional damage for movement and physical damage as we move. I might try to look at maybe getting slightly better candles, but I think that'd be pretty difficult right now. Also going to be trying to get probably taking off the cooldown here so that we can get more aura supports on both the weapon amp and on Fearless and on Rock Magus. We'll probably even go and buy ourselves another Precise Restrain to kind of just get ourselves more and more and more mana. I think aura stacking is pretty powerful. But we're kind of getting close to trying to figure out how to beat SS20. We're looking at a lot of the guys on the leaderboards and just getting a lot of ideas and stuff. But hopefully this video guide kind of helped you out. Maybe a little bit rambly about what we're working on here. I'll put a build code down below. And yeah, let me just show you guys a little bit of gameplay here at the very end. So we've pretty much been farming in Profound lately. And in Profound, we've been using this compass here that makes it so that enemies get a lot of extra health. Just, I'll probably do a video for this. So Valiant War Compass here. makes it so that magic monsters have 800% additional max life. So it kind of makes like a show off of what this build looked like probably kind of bad. So let's take this off here. And like I know like popping through in Profound is probably going to be pretty darn easy. Just kind of like give you an idea how it works. Pretty much we just leap through the map and everything dies. And you know, basically very tanky enemies will get the burst stuck on them. And one thing to kind of like look out for is because we aren't spinning to win anymore, it's potential that our, you know, berserk mode actually runs out, especially if you're not able to like hit enemies repeatedly, because you know, we just kill stuff sometimes a little too fast and berserk will run out. And so you kind of need to just keep an eye on that. So sometimes you might like not have burst anywhere, and that's the reason that that's happening, is because your, you know, rage just popped off. Now you notice here real quick that like even though we have you know, 0 movement speed, it doesn't really matter to us. Like our movement speed really being quite slow is not really a negative, because we just use our leap slam to traverse everywhere versus like, you know, running around, which is kind of bad. Hopefully this video helped you out. We'll see you guys again soon. Come by the stream and let me know what you think in the comments below. Later.